Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Steel City Commuters Podcast. I am Austin Cairns, joined here along Nicholas Brown for episode 16 of the Steel City Commuters. I finally got the number right. And today, we have a lot to talk about on the podcast today. I think this marks, 4 weeks in a row now we're in the Media Hub, which has to be a record of some kind. But today, we're going to be talking about the NFL Draft, which just finished up this past weekend, and we have a lot of news to talk about as well here in the Steel City, so let's get all into that. But before we do so, Nick, my good friend, how is it going with you? You enjoying the beginning of your summer so far?
Yes, we're back in the Media Hub, so taking the trip down today was actually eventful. So much has happened in the trip so far. I slept in, so summer has already officially started to break it to me. I don't know about you. I know you've been a little bit busy, but we're easing the slack a little bit.
We're easing the slack. I actually got to sleep in myself today.
Oh, yeah. I was surprised because the first thing I do is I wake up and check Facebook and see when Austin Cairns was last active because
oh my God,
there was a lot of news this morning, and we're going to get into it with the Pens. I said they finally listened to us, but I'm like, what the hell is he doing still sleeping? This is major news. He needs to get up.
No, I needed to sleep in. I've been on.
Did you get your 12 hours that you wanted? You were close. 10, I think, right?
I got 10. I got 10 hours of sleep, which is the most sleep I've gotten in probably a month and a half.
That's nice because I was up at 4:30 today after we got off the phone last night.
Oh my God.
I went to sleep and we got up at 4:30. So
yeah, no, I fell asleep and I woke up, what was it, around 8, 9? No, 9. It was 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Oh, I already had 2 cups of coffee and ready to get moving.
I finally slept. I mean, I originally woke up because I heard my dog Cooper barking, but then I went back to bed for a little bit, then I finally woke back up. I think Bella was in the other room and she was being loud on the phone. I'm like, hey, Bella, be quiet. And
what are you blaming your sister for?
She was being loud.
You're loud.
Oh, she yells at me too when I'm too loud. She would yell at me when I was on the phone with you because we were being too loud.
I could have yelled at her. She was loud. I could hear her and Lucas's conversation.
Well, we do have a lot to get into today, and I feel like the biggest thing to start off with is something that we have covered on the show. I have covered on every other show that I have been invited to, and that is the Pittsburgh Penguins, because the news broke today, and by today, I mean Monday. This episode, I don't know when it's coming out, but Monday, the news broke that head coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins, Mike Sullivan, has officially parted ways with the Pens. The news broke earlier this morning, and it's an interesting turn of events, so I want to get your opinion on this, Nick. Do you believe this was a good move? What's your thoughts? What's your reactions?
Good move. They were a little bit late. Let's read the statement. I think it's worth noting. It says, on behalf of Fenway Sports Group and the Penguins organization, I would like to thank Mike Sullivan for his unwavering commitment and loyalty to the team and city of Pittsburgh over the past decade, said Dubas. He's the president of hockey operations and general manager Kyle. He goes on to say, Mike is known for his preparation, focus, and fierce competitiveness. I was fortunate to have a front row seat to his dedication to this franchise for the past 2 seasons. He will forever be an enormous part of Penguins history, not only for the impressive back-to-back cups, his impact on the core of Sidney Crosby, Venji Malkin, Crystal Tang, and Brian Rust, but more importantly for his love and loyalty to this organization. This was not a decision that was taken lightly, but as we continue to navigate the Penguins through this transitional period, we felt it was the best course forward for all involved. It's basically a statement that I think was worth coming. The news has finally hit. You know, it's interesting to note that Sullivan's 409 wins with Pittsburgh make him the Penguins' all-time wins leader and just the 14th coach in NHL history to win over 400 games with one team. I think this is a good transition period, Austin, because Sidney Crosby, Malkin, Letang, and Rust. This team was once together, working together, scoring like they were unstoppable, and now we have a team that is literally in pieces, from coaching to players to defense to offense to just we're in this period that it's stale. It's a stale period. Not much is happening. And really the only thing you can do in a period like this is to get rid of your coach. Literally, we've seen it happen before. I even made the point this morning that, Derek Shelton and Mike Tomlin should be next.
Whew. A lot to unpack with this story, and the reason why there is because I have been an advocate for the last 2.5 to maybe 3 years on why Mike Sullivan should be departed. Ever since the Rangers series concluded about 4 years ago, where they were first-round exits, incredible 7-game series, by the way, went through 3 different goalies in that series, I said maybe it's time to part ways with Sullivan. And when I made that statement, this was right around when I first began 2 Jagoffs. As soon as I made that statement, I was attacked. I was buried. I was damn near crucified, Nick, for what I said about Mike Sullivan. And I never said that he was a bad head coach. To sit up here and say Mike Sullivan is a bad head coach, even after being fired, I would disagree with you on that. I would argue. I would say Mike Sullivan is one of the most brilliant-minded hockey head coaches in the league. There's a reason why he was head coach of Team USA in 4 nations. There's a reason why he was head coach of Team USA in the Olympics. But to sit up here and say that Mike Sullivan and the Pittsburgh Penguins is not a broken relationship is false. This is a relationship beyond repair. When we look at this team of Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Chris Letang, 3 guys who were first ballot future Hall of Famers, and the fact that you can't even get to the playoffs with them, let alone a winning record, that's something to be said. 3 years in a row of missing the playoffs with those guys. 3 years prior to that, all first-round exits, 2 of them to the Islanders, 1 of them to the Rangers. That's inexcusable. Yes, the back-to-back Stanley Cups were amazing. Yes, the player development over the last several years has been amazing. But when we look at the last few years, realistically, defensive pairings has been a major issue. You bring in Erik Karlsson, spend all your money you can to get him. He has been useless. Future Hall of Famer for what he did in San Jose. Fully respect the guy, but he has been useless. When we look at the depth on this team, the lack of depth is concerning. The goalie issues, Nedljkovic, from Bloomquist to Jari to DeSmith to Domingue. I mean, the goalies has been awful for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Not to mention the blown leads in the third period. Yes. The amount of blown leads that we have seen due to decisions made by Mike Sullivan going into overtime and into the third period itself. Those are all decisions. That's what led to this decision. Again, Mike Sullivan will go find another coaching job. To sit up here and say his coaching career is over, that's
not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. But we've seen similar stories. Like I always bring this up with the NFL, with Andy Reid. We saw Andy Reid leave the Philadelphia Eagles, not because he was a bad head coach, just because things were getting stale. Teams in the NFC East were getting more advanced. Same thing can be said about teams in the Metro. You look at the Hurricanes, you look at the Devils, you look at the Rangers, you look at the Islanders. These are all teams that are more advanced than the Pittsburgh Penguins now. They're more mobile, they're quicker, they're faster, they're more efficient in scoring. And the reason for that is because coaching has evolved. Coaching has changed. Every single one of those teams moved on from their coaches. Look at the New Jersey Devils. They moved on from their coach 2 years ago. Guess what? They're competing in the first round of the NHL playoffs this year. There's a reason for that. And it's not because of player development. It's because of coaching. And Mike Sullivan has proved time and time again that coaching is the biggest flaw for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I will sit up here and say this in wrapping up my statement, and then I'll pass this back over to you.
Statement.
I'm sorry. This is a big statement. I'll toss it back over to you in a sec. Mike Sullivan will find another job. I know the Rangers' job has been floating around.
That's been floating, yes.
That's been
at least today, at least.
At least today. There's a rumor of him going there. If he does, I bet he'll be successful because look what Andy Reid did. He parted ways from the Philadelphia Eagles. He went on and won a few Super Bowls with the Chiefs, and the Eagles went on to win a few Super Bowls without him. Not because the team was bad, not because the coach was bad, just because the pairing was bad. The pairing of Sullivan and the pairing of the Penguins is now stale. You can say the same thing about Tomlin and the Steelers. You could say the same thing about Shelton and the Pirates. And speaking of the Pirates, this situation reminds me so much of the Clint Hurdle situation. I just wanted to throw that out there. This reminds me so much of it. But Mike Sullivan, thank you for all you've done for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I wish you nothing but the best in your future endeavors, but it had to happen.
Well, that's what I alluded to, that this is a transition period, I think, not just for the Penguins, but I think for Pittsburgh teams, when you look at it over the past 5-10 years, this is the transition period that is finally hitting the wires, that is finally, I think, general operations, general managers, the bigger people, like the leaders, are finally starting to realize that it's time. This is a right step in the correct direction. But will Crosby, will Malkin, will Letang, will they all stay because Mike Sullivan was such a great coach? Will Sidney Crosby eventually just say he's done with the Penguins and him move on as well? He's retiring.
I want to cut you off there. I don't think Crosby would do that because Crosby is so loyal to the Penguins. I don't think no matter what coach they bring in, he's going to be a Penguin until he retires. I just want to throw that out there.
Well, I'm just saying not even just him. Letang, Malkin.
Yeah, Malkin's on his way out the door. I already know he is. He's on his way out. Letang, I mean, he's had some health scares, so I don't exactly know where his position is on it. But at the end of the day, those three guys are nothing but loyal to Pittsburgh. I could see Malkin and Letang making a business decision and a career decision, go elsewhere to maybe try and win one more cup because you're not doing it with the Pens anytime soon. But Crosby, I don't see him going anywhere, man. I really don't.
So where do you think we go from here? Heading into next season and looking into the further season beyond.
Yes.
The depth of field, of course, the offense. A lot of the games, too, you could also add to that there was no score. There were scoreless quarters, periods in this time.
That I don't believe is the biggest issue with the Penguins. I think scoring is honestly one of their strong suits, to argue. I mean, you look at a guy in Rickard Rakell, you look at a guy in Brian Rust, they both had career years in terms of scoring. So the Pittsburgh Penguins have been able to spread the ice with a bunch of different guys that isn't the central three. So I would disagree with you in saying scoring is an issue because I've watched almost every Pens game this year. And yeah, there was a period here or there they didn't score. But at the end of the day, I would blame more of defense on that because you're putting too much pressure on your offense if you can't even stop on the opposing side of the ice.
But I think we made the point a few episodes ago, too, that yes, it's also a defensive problem, but also an offensive problem. That wasn't their lead scorer a defensive player at one point?
No, Erik Karlsson was third in the team of leading scoring. It was Rakell, then Rust, then I want to say Karlsson, then Crosby, it was Crosby, then Karlsson, then Malkin. So yeah, there was a defenseman in the top 5. So that is an issue, but I would blame that on depth. Lack of depth for scorers is what led to the offensive struggles. But to say that there was a struggle itself within the offense and there needs to be a cultivating change, I would say not at all, because you have two guys that has really stepped up to the plate. Because when you look at a Jake Gensel was one of our best scorers that we've had. He's no longer a part of this team. Rakell and Rust really stepped up into it. Rust was supposed to be the primary guy. Injuries got in the way of that. Rakell, he's really taken his career to the next level, and I've been very happy with that. And I mean, there was a couple other guys like Drew O'Connor. I was really expecting O'Connor to be a guy. Now he's a Vancouver Canuck. So there's so many different options you can weigh in here. But no, the direction that I would go from here to answer your question, Nick, is you got to find a new head coach, obviously. That's number one.
The search is ongoing immediately. We'll see how long this takes.
And I got 2 names. There's a couple names out there that's floating around, but I got 2 names. Both of them are named David.
Okay.
First of all, David Quinn. He's already a part of this team. I called him when we hired him as an assistant head coach. He knows the players. He already has a developed relationship with Crosby, Malkin, and Letang. You brought up the issue on whether or not those players are going to stay. Well, that gives those players even more of a reason to stay because they already have an established relationship with a guy who's been in the organization for about a year and a half. So David Quinn, maybe he can get the promotion. Another guy that I would take a chance on is David Carl. David Carl is the head coach for the University of Denver, and this is a guy who has found success over the last 5 years. This is a guy who has an advanced system and is more fast-paced. And guess what? You need a fast-paced offense and a fast-paced system when you're competing against the Hurricanes, Devils, and Capitals several times a year. The point that I brought up with Sullivan was teams got quicker and more advanced. The Penguins have fallen behind. You hire David Carl to your team, guess what? Your team is right back into that equation.
Well, do you think that that's the path that the Steelers are going to go?
The Steelers or the Penguins?
Or I'm sorry, the Penguins?
The Steelers aren't going nowhere. They'll stick with Tomlin, unfortunately.
Well, I don't know. We may be able to break some news on that. You know, just the ropes are also tightening because I think once one legendary coach goes in a trifecta of sports, I think they all go, especially if you're in this transition period.
We can only hope.
So I want to say that I don't want to break the news in saying that that's what the word is, but if history repeats itself and the pattern holds up to it, that's technically what happens. Once you have a legendary one on one side of the ice go, you look to the other side and you look to the field, and this is the case in Tomlin, and then you look to Derek Shelton. If, let's just say that, Mike Tomlin does decide to go.
Which was the problem with Mike Tomlin? We're trying to talk about Mike Sullivan. You're over here.
Well, I'm just saying.
Bashing Mike Tomlin. I mean, I'm a Cardinals fan, so I love hearing this.
But I'm just saying. I'm trying to. I think
Tomlin hate.
Syncing it all together. I think once you have one legendary, and they've been all working together for quite some time in the city.
Yeah.
If one piece of the puzzle falls, all of the pieces of the puzzle are going to fall.
We can only hope.
I'm just saying that. I think that's eventually going to happen. But, I mean, to the Penguin situation, I think they have issues all around. I also have to disagree with you. I think scoring is an issue, and they're not fast-paced at scoring. They wait. They waste so much time off the clock.
I don't know about that because their shots on goal percentage went up after the trade deadline. It went up by 5 goals per period. The Penguins originally would get off about, I would say, maybe 8 to 10 shots on goal, which in all honesty, when you're shooting that little, like, yeah, your scoring percentage is going to go down. But they were getting about 15 to 20 going into the second period, and that was really helping them out a lot. Again, it was the opposing side of the ice. They couldn't get a stop. They were giving up too many goals. They were going into the second period 2-0, 3-0, 2-1, 3-1. Can't do that. That's a hard road to get back on.
But you also can't wait till the second to third periods to start scoring.
Exactly, you can't. But again, that's a defense issue, because once they started scoring, they're in prime position to win. But guess what? They've already given up 2 to 3 goals, and that's already hard enough to come back from. If the defense actually did their job and held it to a scoreless period or a 1-0 period, then the Penguins would have been in better position. Again, you got to break it down from both sides. I get what you're saying with scoring, but to sit up here and say that scoring is a big issue, I can't, because every metric shows that scoring has improved for the Penguins. So I can't stand by that. I'm sorry.
But I'm going to go against the metrics. I go against stats because
it's not stats though. It's what's happening in the game.
But you have to realize that when you're also overtime, I think.
Let me ask you a question. When Marcus Pettersson was a part of this team, did the scoring get better after he left?
No.
The answer is yes. Absolutely it did.
I don't know about that.
Yes, it did.
But also, I think to the scoring point too, they've lost a lot of games when they were tied. I think overtime had a lot to do with a lot of losses this year too.
And who does that fall on?
Both sides of the aisle. Mike Sullivan. Again, but you have to look at I want to blame the whole organization. I'm just not going to call out Mike Sullivan and saying, okay, head coach, he's gone. It's also the players too themselves.
Weren't you the same guy that sat up here last week and said that the Pittsburgh Steelers, when it came to Mike Tomlin, you're not really looking to blame coaches right now, blame players right now. You want to blame the coach. Now all of a sudden you want to no. Time out. You last week you got on me for blaming the defensive players of the Pittsburgh Steelers and getting on a TJ Watt, and now you want to blame the Pittsburgh Penguins offense. So what's the difference?
No.
Yes.
I don't remember saying that last week.
Do we need to go back and run the footage?
I think we need to roll back the tape.
That's too much editing. They can go back and look themselves.
No, I made to your point, and I think I agreed with you when you said, because you brought up the TJ Watt stat, and I said, I agree. Mm-hmm. And I went on to elaborate that Mike Tomlin's not the only problem. I think it's the whole team collectively, and it's also the whole team collectively when the Penguins. I think this is a whole team effort, that once your leadership fails, it trickles down eventually.
To say scoring has been an issue, though, you're saying that Crosby is an issue. You're saying that Raquel is an issue. You're saying that Rust is an issue. None of those guys are issues. The only thing that I would question out of those 3 guys is Rust's availability because of his injury history. Crosby and Raquel, I have no question marks around. So to say that their lead scoring is an issue, you're calling out those 3 guys specifically. Is that what you're trying to say? Because if you're calling out those 3 guys, you're getting on Sidney Crosby at that point. And I would sit up here and say that he is not the problem.
I don't want to
saying scoring is the problem is saying Rust, Crosby, and Raquel is the problem, because they're the 3 leading scorers. So is that the problem, Nick?
Well, obviously, if you're going into overtime 2-2, 3-3, and you come out short once again, that you barely get any goals off, yes, you can also blame the defense, but also scoring. Scoring is an issue. When you start scoring in the second and third period, I mean, the game's about over. You have to come out strong, and that's also a problem that they don't come out strong. They start off very slow and very weak.
You can say that, but also on the defensive side, whenever you have a guy in P.O. Joseph and Erik Karlsson on the ice at the same time as a Rust, Raquel, and Crosby, that's your starting rotation right there. Let's just say that's your starting 5 for that game. If you have that starting 5 right there, what is the strong suit there? It's obviously the 3 scorers. Crosby, Rust, and Raquel already topples what the value P.O. Joseph and Erik Karlsson brings. So if you can't even have a solid defenseman on the same ice as those 3 guys, or even a depth guy like a Jack St. Ivany or an Owen Pickering, who's been an amazing prospect this year. I love seeing him play. Then how the hell are you going to expect to get a stop in the third period? Not to mention, are we going to forget that there was 4 different games this year where Sullivan had Crosby on the bench to start overtime? So how's that the offensive problem? That's a Sullivan problem, because you have your best player in franchise history on the bench to start off overtime.
But now you want to take my side that you claim that happened last week, and you just want to blame that coach. You don't want to go ahead and put the blame on the players.
Listen, I'm
willing to put the blame on the players, like I always have.
No, I am putting the blame on the players. I'm not putting the blame on the scoring. That's the only difference. I'm putting the blame on the defense. I'm putting the blame on the goalies, and I'm putting the blame on Sullivan. Sullivan has been the biggest problem.
You're already a 3 out of 4. Just go with the 4th because it makes sense.
Doesn't, though, Nick. It really doesn't. We're gonna battle on that till the end of time. But until you can prove to me that scoring has been an issue. You have yet to prove to me that scoring is an issue.
If you look at a lot of the games, they don't start scoring till the second quarter.
And I gave you a reason for that, though. I gave you the reason why.
But you can say that, but if you really look at it, what's going to win you the game?
Give me an
Defense
example
and
from a game
scoring.
this year. Give me an example from a game this year.
You could pick any if you go through quarter by quarter.
I'll give you one. Back in February against Montreal, it was 1-1 going into the second period. I think Crosby had the goal, and I want to say, I could be wrong, Letang had the assist on it. It was on a one-timer. And after the one-timer concluded, going into the second period, Sullivan got caught up with an interview with before the second period, and the reporter asked him, he said, what do you need to do going into the second period to score more goals? This is the first goal that you've scored in the first period in almost 2 weeks. What do you need to do? And you want to know what he said? He said, we need to tighten up on defense. He didn't say a damn thing about scoring. He said, we need to tighten up on defense. Tightening up on defense is what opens up the scoring. Just like in football, you need to have a good defense to get the offense out there. We saw that with the Philadelphia Eagles this year. In hockey, it's slightly different. The defense is what sets up scoring opportunities. And Sullivan right there, I agree with that statement. You need to tighten up on defense to open up the scoring. The Penguins went on to lose that game 3-1, but that's besides the point.
No, because good point right there. They go on because, if you look at the percentage of goal shot, what was that percentage?
In that game?
In that game.
I don't have the number with you. I don't have the number.
It was probably very low.
Again, that was post-trade deadline, so I don't know about that. I don't know about that because Crosby was healthy, Raquel was healthy, and Rust was healthy. Like I said, Crosby was the one that got the goal in that game, actually. The first goal.
They have an issue of scoring. That's an issue. 3-1. How many games have they lost by 1? If you go through the metrics.
Give me the number. Give me the number. I would love to see it.
I'm just saying, I think when you blame 3 out of the 4 issues, just tag along the 4th, it makes sense.
No.
Yes. So what happens in overtime? It's just the defensive problem that when they lose in overtime, well, they scored. Okay, what's the percentage between...
I will give you this, because I feel like we're going to get at a stalemate here. We're not going to go anywhere with this. So to end off this, I will say this. There has been times this year where scoring has been an issue. To sit up here and say scoring has never been an issue, I'm not saying that. I just want to make that clear.
I'm not saying that that's the only issue, but I want to...
It's the least of their concerns.
Well, it's a concern. Maybe it's the least, but it's still a concern that you're going to have to at least watch for within the next few years, depending on who your head coach is and the overall situation of their scoring.
I feel like you're doing Crosby unfair in this situation, though.
No, I don't think I am.
Because you haven't given me a real example of how scoring has been an issue. I gave you an example on how it's not. Why? Can you give me one from a game?
Oh, I have been. When you lose in overtime, they lost a lot of overtime this year.
They have, with Crosby on the bench. Crosby was on the bench 4 times to start of time this year. All 4 of those were losses.
You're trying to put the blame on Crosby from my advantage
point. I ain't putting the blame on Crosby. Crosby's the greatest player in Penguins history.
You're trying to put that blame on me. I'm not sitting up here to say I'm blaming Crosby. I'm just saying the overall offensive line, when you look at it, you actually have to take shots. Half the time they don't want to take a shot. If you look at the percentage, overtime seems to drop dramatically. And I get it. I get it that the goal percentage shot drops dramatically because you have to be careful, because if you're down 2, if you're down 1, then you're down 2 again. It's very hard to come back, especially when you have no momentum. That's another issue that they have too. They don't come out strong. The momentum doesn't carry. You have the waves. They start strong in the middle of the half. They end weak. They start strong at the beginning. Halfway through, they're weak. They're not strong all around, offensive and defensively.
I feel like I actually agree with that statement, because if you think about it, the reason why they're not so strong offensively is because of the defense and the goaltending lacking. So if you're going to say that scoring could be better because defense and goalie isn't to where it should be, then I would agree with that. But that doesn't make scoring the major concern. That just makes it tag along as okay, you know what? You're only failing because these guys aren't it's like a group project. If me, you, Kevin, and Lucas are on a group project.
Apparently they didn't read the syllabus.
If we're all on a group project and I'm not doing anything, you're not doing anything, and Lucas isn't doing anything, but Kevin's doing all the work, guess what? Kevin's going to be tied into it and get the bad grade as well, because at the end of the day, we're all a group. But to sit up here and say that Kevin did absolutely nothing and Kevin was the problem, that right there is doing him unfairly because us three were goofing off and he was actually taking it seriously. Just like with the Penguins' sake, the coaching was goofing off, the goalies were goofing off, the defense was certainly goofing off, but the offense was at least putting in the effort. So, yes, they get roped into the equation that this team is bad, this team missed the playoffs, but you can't say that they're the problem just because the rest of the group didn't do their job.
Wow.
And I feel like this is where we have to end this conversation because we still have the whole draft to get to.
Yeah, we do. We have a lot in the draft to get to, but we finally come to some agreement when talking about the Penguins.
Sure. I've always been ridiculed for what I say about the Penguins, but I speak the truth. So.
Well, let's not go that far. Let's not put that exclamation mark on it.
We'll put a big exclamation mark.
I don't think new management would approve.
Oh, well, don't start with this new management nonsense.
I'm just saying. My half of new management doesn't approve, so I'm guessing the other half won't approve.
Okay. Well, let's get into the NFL draft. There's a big headline that recently broke, and I was pretty surprised by it, in all honesty. I think the entire NFL world was surprised by it. Shedeur Sanders, projected first-round pick, didn't just fall.
You wanted to go that route, okay.
I want to start with Shedeur real quick.
I was going the other way of the NFL community with the prank call. I think that also rattled the NFL.
We'll tie that in there. But
okay.
This right here shocked the world. Shedeur Sanders not only fell to the second pick, the third round, the fourth round, the fifth. He fell to the fifth round where the Cleveland Browns ended up selecting him. And not only did the Cleveland Browns select him, they selected him with the 144th pick, which means 143 players went above him, 5 of them being quarterbacks. That, of course, being Cam Ward. That, of course, being Jackson Dart, Tyler Shue, Dylan Gabriel, and then, of course, Shedeur Sanders, which I will tell you right now that I was very shocked by this, Nick. I was very, very shocked by this. So before I get into it, I want to get your opinions on this. Why do you believe Shedeur fell so low, and why did the Browns take him?
I don't know why he fell so low. It was a shock to me, too. I thought he would have been gone at least in the second round. We even sat up here last week, and we even gave our picks. We thought that he was eventually going to come to the Steelers. Ultimately, that didn't happen. The Browns, they have one hell of a lineup, one hell of a squad.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I don't even know how you put a price on this. It will be very interesting to see his contract, to see what terms he gets. Ultimately, will he eventually be traded? It's a question that I think that is looming. I don't want to sit up here and say yes and no. I will just put out there that eventually, maybe down in the next year or so, he will be traded. Because I just don't think it's going to work out with the Browns. I think they have too much QB depth. Honestly, I do. They have too many quarterbacks where they need to focus into other areas. They need some help with Nick Chubb. They need some help on offensive and defensive. Them going all out on QBs is very interesting. Not just in the draft terms, but also pre-draft, too. With Sanders, I'm going to be eager to see how he starts, how he compares to some other of his teammates, who gets the eventual start, where they kind of use him. Do they use him in last-minute situations? Do they use him in the beginning of the game, then maybe middle of the game? Do they use him in certain plays? Is he going to be a quick transition? Nobody really knows, and I think this is going to be interesting to watch unfold.
Look, here's the deal with Shedeur Sanders. When we take a look at the Cleveland Browns, I would actually say that they had a solid draft. A really solid draft, actually. I mean, they had
C+, according to PFF. That's the grade.
Which I'm honestly going to slightly disagree with. I would lean more towards a B+, in all honesty, if I had to give a grade on this, which I'll be giving grades on 2 Jagoffs later this week. But when we look at the Cleveland Browns, I mean, they got an absolute steal at pick 5. Mason Graham, arguably the best defensive player in the draft. I mean, we all know Abdul Carter is an absolute monster from Penn State, so we knew he wasn't going to be there by pick 5. But to get a guy in Mason Graham, who was a national champion with Michigan, 6'10", this is a big guy right here that you would want on your line. And I'll tell you what, this was a solid pick. And they actually traded back. Yeah. The Jaguars trip, so they got another first-round pick next year as well, just because of this trade. So Mason Graham is going to add so much more. Not to mention Carson in the second round out of UCLA. They got 2 running backs in Judkins and Sampson who they're going to be able to rotate within their running back room. I know you mentioned Nick Chubb, but technically he's not a Brown right now. He's still a free agent, so we're going to have to wait and see if he even returns to this team. But if he doesn't, they got depth in this draft to back it up, so the Browns certainly targeted there. But the biggest question mark to me was, why would you take 2 quarterbacks? You have Dylan Gabriel, who you selected in the 3rd round with pick 94. And then you have Shedeur Sanders, who you obviously took in the 5th round with pick 144. My philosophy on this is that the Browns wanted a quarterback. It was dead obvious. They were going to take one.
Oh, I would hope so. They have, 5 quarterbacks now? 6?
Well, they were going to take a quarterback no matter what from the amount of meetings they had. And Dylan Gabriel was a guy that a lot of people didn't expect to go there and expect to go that high due to him being undersized and not really having as explosive as an arm as these other quarterbacks in the draft. But this is still a solid pick. This is a guy who's had a pretty solid career at Oklahoma, transferred to Oregon last year, led him to being the number 1 ranked team in the nation for most of the season. Then, of course, lost to Ohio State in the national playoffs. But when I look at this team specifically and I look at the decisions made in the draft room, I'm not going to lie to you, Nick. I believe the owner stepped in and overruled management and said, you know what? This kid is still there. You better take him. And the Browns did it. Look at the expressions on head coach Kevin Stefanski's face. Look at the impression on the general manager's face. Look at the impression on every single coach that was sitting in that room when they drafted Shedeur Sanders. Not a single smile was to be seen. But with Dylan Gabriel, they're celebrating like they're bringing in the new year. So I'm going to tell you this, Nick. Dylan Gabriel is the guy that's going to be competing in this locker room with the other quarterbacks, which I'm going to get into in a second. Shedeur Sanders, he's going to compete. He's going to have a chance to win the job. But if they don't like what they see from him, if they believe he's too cocky and his ego gets in the way, cut. And guess what? At a 5th round evaluation, it's not going to be worth a penny.
Oh, I think it is. Because his stats pretty much back it up. Last year, he was the 2nd best adjusted completion percentage in the class at 81.8%. We're going to round it to 2%. And the 3rd best turnover-worthy play rate at 1.3. We're going to round it to 1. If you look that compared to the other quarterbacks that they have on that team, there's some really questionable plays that a lot of them do. But again, his ego is going to be one to watch. He can get cocky at times. We shall see who earns it. Is he going to be a starter by week 1, by week 3? We never know. We'll have to see how preseason goes. We have to see how training camp goes this summer. I think that there is going to be a lot of room for improvement on all quarterbacks because some of them even know the Pittsburgh Steelers playbook. So when you look and you match it up with the Steelers, it might be hard to challenge, but Sanders, Colorado, the 5th, come on. He should have been picked long before that.
Yeah, if you're looking at the stats and you look at what he did as Colorado, absolutely. He is easily a 1st-round pick. Mel Kiper even had him as the best quarterback for most of the year outside of Cam Ward. So Shedeur is easily capable of being a 1st-round level player, easily being a starting player. But the issue is Deion got in the way of this. Shedeur himself got in the way of this. The media got in the way of this. Shedeur Sanders got caught up in so much, and that scared teams. And again, a lot of these teams that were drafting this year honestly didn't need a quarterback. So I'm not fully surprised he fell to round 5 in that aspect because, again, a lot of these teams didn't even need a quarterback to begin with. They weren't even looking his way. But the teams that did need a quarterback, like a New York Giants, like a New Orleans Saints, like an LA Rams, like a Pittsburgh Steelers, they passed on him several times. And that just shows that they were scared of taking him because they didn't know what he was going to bring to their team. They thought the interviews with other players went better, which is why Shu went to the Saints, which is why Dart went to the Giants, which is why Gabriel went to the Browns before Sanders joined him with Cleveland. And I hate this analogy so much. People keep saying the Browns have 5 quarterbacks. I don't count Deshaun Watson as a quarterback. He's not going to see the field this year. The Browns don't want him anymore. They're just riding out his contract. So they only have 4 quarterbacks. Yes, they have 5 rostered, but we're not going to count Deshaun Watson here. He's not competing. So when you really look at the Browns quarterback room, it's really just Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders. So when we look at these 4 guys, let's break this down like this. You got a guy in Kenny Pickett who was a backup for the Philadelphia Eagles last year. He was involved in a trade with Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He is obviously this emergency backup quarterback. The Cleveland Browns are known for having emergency quarterbacks due to how many injuries they unfortunately suffer at that position. Bailey Zappi was the guy last year to be an emergency quarterback. DTR was the year before. This year it's a Kenny Pickett. So Kenny Pickett's going to be there in that locker room as well to compete. Then you got a guy in Joe Flacco. This is your security blanket. A guy that took you to the playoffs 2 years ago. Actually played pretty solid, but regressed a lot last year with the Colts. He's coming back to be probably the guy that's going to get the week 1 start. I'm not going to lie to you, but he's going to have to compete and earn it. He's not going to give. No one's going to be given this job. Gabriel was the guy they believed in and they drafted. This is the guy they want to see. Shedeur was the guy that the owner stepped in and said, hey, you got to draft him and see what we can do. So this is really a 3-way competition between Flacco, Sanders, and Gabriel if you really break it down. Pickett's going to be in the mix too, but he's probably just going to be there just to be rostered as an emergency backup. Watson, don't give me that crap. He's not getting the starting job. I want him to. I would love to see Watson get another opportunity. I believe he still has a little bit left in the tank if he can actually play up to what he has, but we have not seen that over the last couple of years. So he's going to be gone. But I'm going to tell you right now, Nick, I feel so bad for Shedeur Sanders. This kid is so talented. His ability to spread the field, his ability to make plays on the run, his ability to get in the scoring zone. Oh my gosh, it pains me so much he fell to the 5th round. I'm wishing him nothing but the best. I hope he gets the starting job. I really do.
You know who did have a really good draft?
Who?
My Dallas Cowboys.
Oh my gosh. Are we really transitioning to the Cowboys?
A+.
Okay, go ahead.
A+. You know, if you look at it, they get Tyler Booker from Alabama. They get Siobhan Revel from East California. You know, they get Phil Maffa from Clemson, Jay Toya from UCLA. It was a really solid draft for them. A+.
I don't know if I would say A+. I will give you an A, though. I will say an A-. I will actually give you some credit. Your Dallas Cowboys had a solid draft. Look, when we look at Tyler Booker, he was picked way too high. He was overvalued for the Cowboys. He could have been drafted a little bit later on. There was better players at that position that the Cowboys could have gotten. And I'm giving the Cowboys credit there. I'm saying that there was a lot of players they should have picked over him. It's going to fill a hole, don't get me wrong.
It's going to fill a hole.
But they jumped the gun on that one. That's number 1. Siobhan Revel was a big steal. I had this guy high on my draft board. And I can't believe he fell to the 3rd round. It's just because of the school we went to. East Carolina is not as notable of a school.
Where did you think he was going to end up? Was the Cowboys on that list of yours?
For Siobhan Revel?
Yes.
His name specifically wasn't on my list because the Cowboys usually suck at drafting, so I didn't expect him to take him. But
look who proved you wrong this year.
They proved me wrong this year. I was impressed with the draft. They filled holes they needed to. They got an edge. They got some running backs. Phil Moff ain't going to see the field. He's going to be simply depth. But Javonte Williams is there now. He wasn't drafted, but he was signed in free agency. Jaden Blue, that's a big one from Texas. Shamor James, this is a solid draft. They filled a lot of holes. They got some depth. Don't get me wrong. They're still not going to be on the same level as the Eagles and Commanders next year, but...
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't go that far. I don't know.
But I will say this. They've certainly improved, and they'll be a team to keep an eye on for. But
to the playoffs, to the Super Bowl?
Nowhere near the Super Bowl. Maybe first round at best. First round at best. Nick. They're not going anywhere near the Super Bowl.
Where's my my friend, my Cowboys friend?
Who? Matt Palangi?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Where's Matt Palangi?
You guys go start your own little Cowboys podcast.
Oh, we're gonna bring you on to just torture your Cardinals.
Well, I'll be the one torturing you guys. The last 3 times the Cowboys played the Cardinals beat them all 3 times.
But this draft certainly is a new direction and a new beginning, honestly, to say the least.
It is. I will give you, again, I don't have anything really bad to say about the Cowboys this draft. I would just
Mark
say...
this. Take this.
The only thing I will say is you very much overvalue Tyler Booker. There was a lot of other positions that was needed. I was if you guys got an edge in the 2nd round, I honestly would have taken James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee with that 1st round pick. I'm shocked that you guys passed up on him. That was a very solid. A lot of teams did pass up on him, so I can't just blame that on the Cowboys. But that guy right there would have been such a great addition to this team. Lining him up opposite of Micah Parsons, that would have been a deadly duo. So you guys had a couple of failed opportunities, but it's not a bad pick because it does fill a hole. It's not like last year where you drafted a random defensive tackle when you didn't need to. So they drafted positions they needed. They filled holes they did. But there was a couple of times where I was like, you know what? They could have gotten someone else. They honestly could have. But no, solid draft. I'll give the Cowboys an A-. I wouldn't say A+, but I'll give them A-. A-.
Mark that on the calendar because coming into this draft, we really didn't specifically break it into teams, but I don't think the Dallas Cowboys was on anybody's radar that high.
No.
And it's very interesting to see that the direction that this team is going. Will Dak Prescott return to the helm of QB? I don't know.
We'll see.
He is the highest paid QB right now on record.
Mm-hmm.
But his backup, Cooper
Rush,
did very excellent last year. Did better than I think a lot of Prescott fans hoped for because if they were smart, they would have kept Cooper a bit longer, around a bit longer because what he did, I think, proved the essence and I think proved the other side that Dak Prescott is not leading this team. He's not the only shining star.
I can agree with that.
Wow, you finally agree with me on something. It's really going to be a good day.
I mean, we battled about the Penguins for about half an hour, but that's okay.
And I was right, of course.
Don't even start with that.
What do you mean? I think new management would.
Oh, Lord. Well, if this is a Steel City podcast, we shouldn't be talking about your damn Cowboys. We should be talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I feel like is a great way to get into this next topic. What do you think about your Steelers? They had 7 picks this year. What's your opinion overall? I want to get the Steelers fans' perspective on this before I go into it, because I don't want to be called unbiased here or anything.
I got to find my page. I don't remember where I put this in the packet.
Well, you scroll through your packet over there. It looks like that looks like my senior year study guide.
It's only about 34 pages, and I didn't print front and back because...
See, I'm all organized over here, ladies and gentlemen. I got it broken up in the columns, picks, rounds, schools, positions.
Well, are you tormenting me now?
I am tormenting you.
Oh, okay. I found my Pittsburgh Steelers.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Oh, my Lord. We got the New York Times in your hand right now? What's wrong with you?
PFF gives the Pittsburgh Steelers a B+. I don't know if I would agree with that. I think I would give them C+, a B at the most.
Ooh, interesting.
Of course, they got, Derek Harmon of Oregon. Potentially, he can contribute right out of the gate after earning a 91.2 PFF pass rush grade against true pass sets. He's tied for the highest among interior defenders. Okay. Running back Caleb Johnson. Not really sold on it. How many running backs do you need? I mean, you could look at it.
Okay. I'm letting you go through this first before I give you my opinion. I have a lot to say.
I know you do. Dante Kent from Central Michigan. He's a smaller cornerback, and PFF goes on to say, who broke up 5 passes in 24. He's a good special teams player who does his best work on the punt coverage and punt return teams. I would keep an eye on Dante Kent and how he works with Danny Smith and his crew, because the Steelers have a lot of potential when they do punts and when they return punts. It's a new era, I think, a new era to way to look at football, because, Steelers have taken advantage of the punts, and they've certainly done well. So overall, I'd give them a C+.
You're just going to completely ignore the quarterback they drafted?
Well, I don't want to completely ignore it, but also I don't think that really changes much of the scenario. We're still waiting around for Aaron Rodgers at this point.
Well, he's gone. They closed the deal on him. They said if he didn't sign 48 hours before draft time, done deal.
No. Well, they could, but that's still looming in the air from the gif that I'm getting and the overall atmosphere.
Well, I believe the Aaron Rodgers ship has sailed. The Steelers would be fools to sign him at this point, because in all fairness, he's easily toying with this organization. The Pittsburgh Steelers doesn't need that toxicity within their locker room. Yes, they need a quarterback, but at this point in time, bringing in a guy like that that's going to be that controlling of your franchise. I've been a strong advocate for Rodgers to the Steelers, but I said it best. I said if he doesn't sign with this team before the draft, don't bother signing him. There's no point. And he has not signed with this team. He has not even negotiated with this team. So I don't think Aaron Rodgers should be back here. But let's talk about this draft, man. You missed a big one. Derek Harmon, defensive lineman.
I said him.
Did you? No, you didn't. You said...
That was the first one that I said.
Okay. Well, Derek Harmon is an amazing pick.
You think?
An amazing pick. This was honestly one, and that's the only time I'm going to say that during this Steelers analogy. So let me just get that clear. I was not a fan of this pick at first because of the quarterbacks that was still on the board. I believe that I was really hell-bent on, the Steelers need a quarterback right here. All of them fell to him except for Cam Ward.
Well, that's where they should have went first round.
Yeah, that's where they should have went. I was like, oh my gosh, there's a quarterback. But then seeing where Shador fell and really starting to do my research on this, outside of quarterback, what was the one position I was saying that the Steelers needed to fill? Defensive lineman. Guess what? You got the third best one in the draft in Derek Harmon. Derek Harmon has been a freak of nature at Oregon. Again, another guy who's been a part of a winning success, a guy that is reliable, a guy that can get you double-digit sacks, a guy that could be a day one starter. I do want to say this, though, just to go off topic, if we don't mind real quick.
Oh, you always like to go off topic, so it don't matter.
Well, you're going to regret saying that when I'm about to say this.
Oh, God.
I just want to send my condolences his way to his family and anybody affected by the loss of Derek Harmon's mother. Absolutely emotional story.
She was everything to him.
She was, and he went and saw her right afterwards in the hospital, and I just got to say, it was a great moment to be able to at least see her son being drafted. I know this is definitely a hardship. It's never easy losing a loved one. I can speak from experience. My thoughts and prayers go out to everyone affected by this loss.
Well, I'm going to take the other side and say, I think this is going to make him stronger.
Oh, indeed.
Because he even put out in a video memo, and I shared it on social media. I think it was ESPN. He went on to talk about his mom's legacy and his mom's life. And the overall takeaway I got from that was it's not only going to push him to be stronger and better, but he's going to do everything he can to live out his mother's life and his goals that he set and her goals that she set for him. And that's why I think he is honestly a good pick right out of the gate. He's going to be one to watch as a defensive lineman, honestly.
He is, and I 100% agree with that statement. Wishing Derek Harmon nothing but the best. Definitely one of my favorites now going into next season just because of his story. I cannot wait to see what this kid does in the league.
And his stats are going to be one to compare to among the league.
For sure. Definitely someone I could see being a successor of Cam Hayward when it's all said and done. I can say that.
That's another good point to make.
I would love to see it. Now, this is where things start to fall off for the Steelers. There was no second round pick. We then go into the third round, pick number 83, Caleb Johnson. I'm going to be a little harsher than you were, Nick. I don't like this pick at all. This was an awful pick. They did need a running back. You only have Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. That's an awful running back room. That's the worst in the AFC North, without a doubt. But to take a guy in Caleb Johnson who struggled to compete his first year in Iowa for the starting gig and to pass up on a guy in Cam Scatteraboo who has the playoff experience, who has the strength, who has the mobility, who has the quickness out of the backfield, and the ability to take checkdowns, which is something you're going to have to do this year if you plan on rolling with Mason Rudolph or Will Howard as your quarterback. Why the hell would you pass up on him? Cam Scatteraboo was right there in the palm of their hands. They let the Giants snag him. That's the best running back they've had since Barkley. So passing on Scatteraboo to take a guy in Caleb Johnson who is unproven, who has done I'm not going to say relatively nothing, but has done little to nothing compared to some of these other running backs we have on this draft board, that right there is going to set him up for failure. Johnson won't be rostered by the time his rookie contract expires, mark my words. And if he is, he's not going to be the starter. When you look at this running back room with Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell, this is atrocious. The Pittsburgh Steelers are known for running the ball, stopping the run. How can you stop the run if you can't even run the ball? There's no running the football with this team. You gave away Najee Harris for a bag of Pringles, and now you bring in a guy in Caleb Johnson who is unproven. Then it continues to go downhill. You get Jack Sawyer. I'm 50-50 on this pick. I'm not going to lie. Part of me likes it because you need edge depth, and part of me doesn't like it because of the penalties. Jack Sawyer is known for getting penalties, and that's the last thing you want if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. I was just about to say, you already have enough players on your defense to get penalties. You don't need more. Then you get Black in the 5th round out of Iowa. This is simply a depth pick right here. He'll compete, but he's not going to really go anywhere, so I'm not even going to address it. Same thing with Bruner and Kent. You brought up Kent being a big player for possibly the special teams. That's going to be nice for them. Let's see how it pans out, but it's a 7th round pick. It's not the end of the world. Now we get to Will Howard. Will Howard, yes, he was a national champion this year. Yes, he led Ohio State to the big time. But are we going to forget his lackluster career that he had at Kansas State every single year before this past season at Ohio State?
Well, that's why I skipped him completely because I don't even know why we're talking about it.
Exactly. Not to mention his forced throws that he does under pressure. It feels like anytime this quarterback comes under pressure, he barely scrambles outside the pocket. And when
Just
he does,
like Mason Rudolph.
And he forces it into double coverage. He doesn't know when to throw the football away. And he takes too many sacks. So that is the last kind of quarterback you want in your locker room. It's bad enough you already have Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson. Now you're adding a guy in Will Howard who, don't get me wrong, for the value at round 6, that's a good value because he was expected to go higher. He was expected to be a 3rd or 4th round pick. So getting him in the 6th round is good value. You can't say it's not because it is. This is a guy that's projected to go 2 rounds sooner. But he's not going to fit in this Tomlin system. I don't see it at all. Now, if you would have had a Cam Scatteraboo that could take a check down, unlike a Caleb Johnson, then maybe I would agree. If you maybe had another receiver that can bend the slot a little more instead of 2 guys who can run vertical, then maybe I would agree with you. So this Steelers offense is a train wreck. It is an absolute train wreck. The offensive line is unproven. The running back room is a mess. You got 2 good receivers who can run straight. No one who can bend the slot. Calvin Austin is the best one in that category, and we've seen what he did in the slot last year. Not to mention they have a guy in Pat Freiermuth who can be a generational talent, but Tomlin has not figured out a way to use him yet. Tomlin has misused Freiermuth his entire career. He's used Darnell Washington more than Pat Freiermuth, when Darnell Washington should be simply blocking as a 6th offensive lineman.
Not as 6'10".
He's 6'10". Why are you having him run up the middle?
Why isn't he in the end zone? Just throw it right to him. Nobody else is that tall.
My point exactly. So the Pittsburgh Steelers offense is a train wreck, and this draft right here did not help. B- at best.
B-?
B at best. I would give him at best. I lean more
Why
towards
would
C.
you say at best? Why wouldn't you even take it lower? Given
You know what, Nick? I agree. C. There we go, Steelers fans. C.
honestly, when you said B-,
No, I would say at best. Like I could
best, though.
at best, but I'm gonna say C.
we're
I'll
taking
see.
we're even taking your target even lower.
We'll go lower. Because you know what, you're right. It's a C here.
What about to the Steelers fan?
I'm giving him too much credit.
Oh, I think you are.
We'll give him a C.
You surely have seen how I dealt with that. What do you say to the Steelers fans that I've heard from chirping all weekend? If they give this an A+.
They don't watch football. It's that simple. If you can prove to me why any of these picks outside of Derek Harmon will do anything for your team, Sawyer's going to get you more penalties. Johnson's not going to assist you with checkdowns. Black, it depends if he even competes or not. Howard, is he going to protect the football? Bruner, he's a 7th round pick. He might not even make the roster. And Kent, I mean, he'll maybe help in special teams, but he's simply going to be depth for corners as well. This team really hasn't improved at all. Outside of their defensive line, the defensive line's going to be more buff with Harmon. Don't get me wrong. Harmon's going to add value to that defensive line. It's going to improve, but I don't see much change with this. I really don't. This honestly makes the DK Metcalf trade worse because you don't have a quarterback to throw him to still.
So what should we expect in training camp and leading into week 1 of the preseason? Do we see them getting above 28 points? Because, again,
no.
Here we go. Scoring is a big issue when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The offense, they have a very hard time scoring.
Yes.
Now when you throw everybody in the mix, Will Howard, when you throw in Mason Rudolph,
Yep.
when you throw in the whole offensive line,
Yep.
how do we get downfield?
You can't. That's the simple answer, Nick. You can't with this team. I don't want to call out Lucas. Let's actually be serious for a sec here. I don't know if Lucas was joking or not. We're going to find out this Wednesday on Two Jagoffs whenever I meet with him.
Why, what was his thoughts?
He kept saying this is one of the better drafts for the Steelers. This is like an A draft. And I'm like, I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if he was joking with me because he was with a group of friends. But Lucas may or may... What are you doing? You checking with the man himself?
We're going to do this live as we're recording.
All right, well, we're doing this live on Steel City. Lucas, I don't mean to call you out if you were just joking around. I hope you were not, because new management might be dismantled after this because your eyebrows raised pretty significantly there. You're like, hold on, Austin and I's actually cooking over here right now. I'm shocked that we agreed on the Steelers, but not the Penguins. That's the part that I can't wrap my head around. I was expecting to agree more on the Pens, but hey, made for a great episode. Really locked in over there, huh?
All right.
Now we wait.
We'll see if we get a response.
Are you going to get the notification, or is that already him? There ain't no way Lucas respond that quick.
No.
Okay.
He's reading my message.
Uh-oh. Ladies and gentlemen, the other half of new management is now responding.
A- in his opinion. We filled a lot of holes. That's a quote directly from him himself.
What holes did you fill, Lucas? Because you filled defensive linemen. The running back, yeah, technically you got one, but it's not going to help. The edge rusher, it's unproven. The other defensive lineman still has to compete. The quarterback is unproven. The linebacker's unproven. And the other corner's unproven. How? How did you fill holes? The Browns filled holes. You did not fill holes. Cleveland filled holes. Baltimore filled holes. Cincinnati filled holes. The Steelers did not. Blasphemous. That is the worst take he has ever had. I'm going to say that right now, Nick. That is the worst take he has ever had. Keep in mind, this is the same guy that defended Mike Sullivan a couple years ago, and then he finally changed last year to jump in and agreeing with me that Sullivan should be fired. So his word isn't exactly as trustworthy.
He is typing as we are.
I'm just laying it in them right now.
This is like live reporting on the air.
Yeah,
as we're like.
This is like our shitty MSNBC, I guess.
He is typing. Long response. And we have a statement from Lucas, the man himself, the other half of new management. He goes, quote, and this is directed at you. He goes, quote, he hates our draft because he doesn't understand that we don't need Sanders, and our offense, yeah, it's not great, but working on our aging defense was smart.
Did I ever once allude to Shedeur Sanders in that entire soliloquy? I said that the Johnson pick was the worst pick for this offense. Yes, Lucas, you did add an edge rusher who racks up penalties like it's Halloween candy. Yes, Lucas, you buffed that defensive line. That's about it, though. What else did you improve with this defense? Because the picks that I'm looking at is D-line, running back, edge, D-line, quarterback, linebacker, corner. Where's the safety help? Where's the corner help? Where's the linebacker help? The only linebacker you took in this draft was in the 7th round. This is a guy that was valued to go undrafted. I don't know what he's talking about.
This is pretty heated.
This is heated because he's talking out of his ass. What do you mean?
So is this just a preview of what
two
Jagoffs of what that Wednesday is going to bring? Can you give the viewers a hint, some kind of preview of the takes?
I think my dad is going to be the one that's going to mediate all this for once. Usually my dad's in on the mix of the arguing. I think this week he's probably going to be the calm one, trying to settle the dust. That's a crazy statement, though. Call him. Put on speaker right in front of your microphone. Call him. That is just crazy. You can put up to it closer to the mic.
We are calling Lucas.
I can hear it on the headset.
So, Lucas, you are currently on speakerphone, and we are in the Media Hub as we are recording. Take a listen to what Austin has just said to you.
Okay.
What's up, Lucas?
What's up, Austin?
I know that you are still 50-50 on whether or not you're going to be on two Jagoffs this week. Of course, you're live on Steel City Commuters right now. But can you just please explain to me the hypocrisy that Nicholas Brown just read me through text message?
All right. Do you want to read the text, or do you want me to give my opinion?
I want your opinion. I just heard the text. I don't need to hear the text again.
Okay. I didn't know if you heard I didn't know if they heard the text or not.
No, they heard the text. We read it.
We're chatting live on as we're recording.
Yep.
All right. So, do you want to break it down by like the rounds?
You can break it down by the rounds because I have the paper right in front of me. So go right ahead, my friend.
All right. First round, Derek Harmon. He's gonna be a monster.
We're gonna do this pick by pick, just so you know.
Okay. In my opinion, he was a great person to draft. As much as I didn't like it at first, I was like, what are we doing? Like, Sanders is still there.
Yep.
After watching the Sanders drop, after hearing some stuff behind the scenes, and after realizing that we were actually trying to get rid of some of our defensive line, and Hayward's probably gone after this year, I take back what I said. I actually like this pick a lot.
All right. You ready for my opinion?
What?
I fully agree with you. Everything you said is 100% spot on.
That's surprising.
Let's go to round 3 now.
All right. That was Johnson, right?
Yep, Caleb Johnson.
Not the best pick in my opinion. I mean, like you said, there was a better running back that we probably could have taken, but he did have like 3,000 rushing yards, pretty much.
Okay.
Wasn't it like 3,000 yards for 30 touchdowns or something like that?
Something like that. Something along those lines. We can say
that's not bad.
You're right. That's not bad, but
he's also durable, which is what we need because Najee was durable. We need a durable running back because Warren, he's not that durable.
Okay, I agree with you the durable part, but are we going to forget the fact that Cam Skattebo is on the board? Cam Skattebo is a dual threat running back, which is something the Pittsburgh Steelers needs to utilize. You only have the only running backs you have rostered are simply third down backs and Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. These are not guys that can play all 4 downs. Cam Skattebo is.
I think that we're going to try to make Warren more than just a third down back in the future.
Okay, but there's a reason why he was undrafted, Lucas. There was a reason he was undrafted is because of that value. Look, Caleb Johnson is not a bad player, but to sit up here and say that he was a steal of a pick, sure, you got your running back, but this running back room did not improve. You simply just added another guy. There is no value.
He's a steal, but I'm saying that he's a decent pick.
He's not a decent. If Cam Skattebo was not there, then I would say it's a decent pick, but you passed up on a guy that can improve your offense so much more. When you have a guy in Mason Rudolph, Will Howard, and Skylar Thompson who's going to be relying heavily on checkdowns, you need a checkdown back. Johnson is not a checkdown back. Skattebo would have been.
Guess we'll see how that turns out for us as the season progresses.
I got him there, Nick. All right, next pick.
I mean, we're arguments like a gun where you're not going to agree with me, I'm not going to agree with you, so.
Okay, so we
didn't agree on the Steelers, Lucas. Just so you are on the Penguins. We debated the Penguins news off the top of the podcast.
We'll get to that at the end. We'll get to that later.
Okay, we'll get to that later.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Well, Jack Sawyer.
Fourth round. Jack Sawyer, that's right. Edge, right?
Yep. Ohio State. The Ohio State, to be exact.
The Ohio State.
Ohio State.
I mean, this is a good pick. I mean, we need some depth in the edge. TJ is not constantly on the field for every play, so I don't mind that. It's just a depth pick at that point, in my opinion.
I would agree with you with the depth pick, but this is also a bad pick in my eyes. I'm still 50-50 on it, but this is a guy that racks up a lot of penalties. The last thing you need on your defense right now is a guy who racks up penalties. You already have Joey Porter Jr. who does it. Minka isn't really the best with penalties either. We've seen Watt at times take some unfair penalties, which I think me and you can agree with some of them were unfair. But still, the Steelers already rack up enough penalties as they have. Adding a guy in Jack Sawyer in that starting rotation on the opposite side of Watt, that's the last thing you need is a guy who's going to be getting face mask. Good.
I mean, Sawyer's just going to be a relief guy. He's never going to be on the field as much as Highsmith and Watt, so I'm really not worried about it. I think it's going to help more than
Well, I disagree with that because Highsmith and Watt isn't exactly as durable as you like to say. They're both on and off the field constantly, so Sawyer's going to be in that rotation a lot on 3rd and 4th downs. So we're going to see a lot of Sawyer this year.
Maybe, but...
He's not going to get the start, but he's going to be in games. He's going to be impactful, so... Having
he's going to be in games, and I think he's going to be there, but it's not like he's going to be there every single down.
He's not, but he's going to be there on the important downs.
I don't think he'll rack up that many penalties.
Well, he did at Ohio State, so we'll just have to wait and see. Okay, Yahya Black, or however you say his name. I don't know. I apologize.
I don't either.
Yahya Black, I think.
Nobody knows how to say his name.
Defensive lineman from Iowa. I like this pick because he is solid for depth. But outside of that, he's not going to see the field. So it's honestly not anything.
I mean, he's got size. He's got strength. We got rid of someone today. I forget who, to be honest. We got rid of a lineman today. I forget who, but I think he'll probably play a little bit to help fill that gap.
Okay. Then Will Howard, 6th round. Again, I'll say this. You got him for a good value because he was projected to be the 3rd or 4th round pick. You got him in the 6th, so it's not the end of the world there. But there were so many better quarterbacks on the board. This is a guy that has trouble throwing on 3rd down. He forces the ball in tight windows. He takes sacks when he doesn't need to. I mean, outside of his Ohio State run last year, his college career has been relatively bleak. I mean, look at the time at Kansas State. Sure, there was a Big 12 championship appearance, but outside of that, there has been little to no success with him. I don't even see him being a starting quarterback. Honestly, comparing him to Rudolph is the guy that's going to get the green light in my eyes.
I mean, hopefully the Steelers do something unusual here and actually try developing him. I think he can be developed. He had a good run. He shows potential.
What kind of potential?
Potential to actually have a decent arm and have a little bit of movability.
I fully disagree with that statement. Will Howard is strictly a passing quarterback. He's a pocket passing quarterback. He's nowhere near dual threat. Will Howard also, he has a good...
He's going to be great moving, but I think he can get away from a sack if we're able to...
Absolutely not. He was the 3rd guy in the...
Okay, listen, I'm a Steelers fan. We worked with Big Ben, and he could move. Will Howard can move.
Oh, that's a good, interesting take.
It's an interesting take, but the league has changed since Big Ben Roethlisberger was last playing in it. And if we look at...
I understand that, but if Ben could get away from a sack and run forward for like a couple yards, Will Howard can run forward for a couple yards.
Okay, well, here's the difference between Big Ben and Will Howard. When Big Ben played at the University of Miami, he was able to also get away from that. We have not seen Will Howard get away from that. We've seen him take sacks at Kansas State. We've seen him take sacks at Ohio State. So... how are you going to prove that Will Howard can do it when the film and the tape shows that he hasn't? I watched him take 2 sacks.
That's why I said we need to develop.
Let's be honest here, Lucas. He took 2 sacks in the national championship game. 2. And they were both...
Like 6 in the Super Bowl, so what are we going with here?
That's the point that I'm trying to make. How can Will Howard be a starter if he can't even get rid of the ball in time?
Mahomes can get rid of the
Okay, and now you're comparing Patrick Mahomes to Will Howard.
I'm just saying, it's called developing a young star. People in the NFL...
Here's the thing, though, Lucas. Here's the thing. Will Howard's not a star. That's the thing.
Whatever.
All right, next pick. Carson Bruner, linebacker from Washington. Let's just both agree here. He's simply depth. He's there just for depth.
Wait, who was it?
Carson Bruner, 7th round pick 226, linebacker out of Washington. He's going to be there for depth. Maybe some special teams appearances, but nothing crazy.
I thought we took a cornerback for some reason.
No, there's a corner afterwards. Dante Kent is the next guy, cornerback out of Central Michigan.
That's who I remember. I don't even remember the other guy.
Okay, well there, we don't even remember the other guy. I don't mind Dante Kent. Nick actually brought up a good point. He could be a pretty reliable piece for special teams, especially on the punting unit, because he was pretty solid with Central Michigan. But outside of that, like, he's probably not going to see it.
I remember Kent had like over 200 tackles and like 50 pass blocks or something like that, and a couple interceptions. So
I don't know. I don't
mind it.
That's at Central Michigan, so we'll see how that translates.
It's always good to have some secondary depth.
They get a C, though, Lucas. I'm going to pass it back over to Nick.
C is crazy.
So I gave it, let's actually tell Lucas what you have originally.
Go ahead. Here, I'm going to give this back to you because I don't want Lucas in my hand anymore.
Okay. So, Lucas, you're back in my hand. But originally, he gave it a best as a B-. I convinced Austin to take it down even further, and he gave it a C-.
A C+. Not a C-. I don't think it's that bad.
I went with a C-. Whose take do you agree with, and what is your overall grade?
I agree with neither because I think that we did good, and no one's going to see it till actual playing time starts. But that's just my take.
Again, I'm gonna all I'm gonna say to you is this, Lucas. Until I can see change from these players outside of Derek Harmon, Caleb Johnson has not showed me he's capable of being a starting running back in the NFL. Jack Sawyer has not showed me that he can play a clean game. Will Howard has not shown me that he could protect a football efficiently. Black, Bruner, and Kent all have to compete for their jobs. None of these guys are guaranteed day one starters outside of Derek Harmon. None of these guys are guaranteed to even compete and make it to the actual roster once it comes preseason time. So until I can see that, I'm not willing to give it higher. The reason why I said B- originally was because I really like the Derek Harmon pick. I changed my mind completely on it because of the whole Sanders thing, like you said. I'm in full agreement there. But everything else, it's mid. And comparing it to your rivals, the Browns, amazing draft. The Bengals, amazing draft. The Ravens, pretty good draft. The Steelers, not at all.
I don't know. Looking at what we got rid of on defense, who's going to be leaving on defense soon, and who we got back for the defense, I think I'm pretty hopeful for it.
But what have you really fixed on defense?
Well, we're trying to get some more people on that line, considering Hayward's probably gone soon, and we got rid of someone today, and we lost Ogunjobi.
Okay, and your only addition was Harmon. Harmon was your only addition.
No, we got someone else.
Who?
Oh wait, that might have been actually after the draft that we picked someone else up.
Exactly, an undrafted free agent.
Still need people for the line. You can't play the game if you don't have a defensive line. So
you can't play the game, but who have you added that has any value? I mean, I'll tell you right now, I'm looking at the defensive line. I have the undrafted free agent list in front of me. You added Sebastian Valdez, who was a defensive lineman out of Washington. This is a guy who barely saw the field because of how injured he was. Then you added a guy in Connor O'Toole, who is actually projected to be a 7th-round pick. This is a defensive end from Utah. He also had issues staying on the field, so that's going to be a major concern. And then you got J.R. Singleton, who's a defensive lineman out of Iowa State. None of these guys are proven enough to be reliable.
we'll find a way.
Okay. We'll see.
We do it every single year.
Let's hope.
All right, Lucas, stick with us because we're going to move to another segment. We're going to move to the Sanders incident, the prank call. I think this is one to talk about. If you're unheard of.
Do you want my opinion real quick?
What'd you say?
Do you want my opinion on that real quick?
Yes. So hold on. Let's set the stage here. So if anybody is unfamiliar, there was a prank call. The son of NFL defensive coordinator at center of a stunt he pulled during the draft weekend. This was an untouching moment because Sanders fell so low in the draft. This led the league launching an investigation into the matter, and the source has been found. Believe it or not, it was Jax Albrecht, however you say his name.
Yeah, Falcons defensive coordinator's son.
Yes. What do you make of it, Lucas?
The only reason this is getting talked about at all is because of who did the call and who the call went to. This happens every season, and the NFL has never once cared until it was Shedeur Sanders.
Thank you, Lucas. We finally agree.
It really just shows what a last name can do for you, for the sports world, because this happened last year to DeJean, I'm pretty sure. No one cares. This happened a couple years ago, multiple times. Like, it doesn't matter until you're actually a big name. It's embarrassing.
Hey, he's right, Nick. You can't. I was literally going to say the exact same thing. I was going to bring up Cooper DeJean, so I'm glad he said that.
Well, Lucas, you cleared.
I mean, once again, Olbrich's son, you're an embarrassment. But at the same time, the NFL is only looking into it because it's Shedeur Sanders.
I mean, he did take to social media to apologize for what he called, quote, a tremendous mistake.
Tremendous mistake. He's a kid. He was just prank calling. I used to prank call when I was a kid.
But I think
I prank called stores all the time.
Oh, we know.
Well,
hey, you did more than me, buddy.
I did. I did.
So Lucas, to put a wrap on this, I think you provided some great insight. Can you kind of give us... Oh, well, okay. Your other buddy on Two Jagoffs doesn't want to go great, but I'm going to go great.
All right.
And I even asked Austin the same thing. Can you at least give us a hint of what Two Jagoffs will be like this Wednesday? What are some other takes that you possibly could have regarding the draft?
This Wednesday, if I'm actually there, as Austin said, I have some outside stuff I might have to miss this week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But it's going to be a recap. I'm sure we'll debate. Depending on who's there, it might be me and Austin. It might be me, Austin, and Mr. Austin's dad, as I like to call him.
Jumbo Dad 1 from Instagram.
I thought it was Mayor Carnes.
Mayor Carnes, yes.
Mayor Carnes. So whoever's there, I'm sure that whoever's there, their teams will be the most talked about. So it'll be Cardinals, Steelers, and Chiefs.
We didn't even talk about the
Probably
Cardinals.
the main talking points. But it'll just be a breakdown of all the teams and all the draft picks and was it good, was it bad? What does the car hinge think about it? So.
And you'll be representing my Dallas Cowboys for me, correct?
Oh, God help me.
I gave it an A+, and so did
I gave it an A-.
PFF. So you're going to have to represent them well for the other half of new management, because if you've listened within the past few weeks, I've represented you and our new management very well. Austin has...
I've been talking about new management on Two Jagoffs, too. Don't worry. I'm not letting that down.
All right. Thank gosh.
Well, he ain't giving no credit to the Cowboys, Nick. I can tell you that much.
Oh, I don't know. I don't want to speak too
I
soon.
don't know. I'll have to take a look back, to be honest. I couldn't name a single player they drafted because I forget by now. My brain's so cluttered with sports news, but...
There's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on. Well, Lucas, we'll let you go, but
I will leave it off on one thing real quick because I am getting summoned downstairs by my parental, but...
Oh, Carrie. Carrie gets another shout-out.
Thank God Sully is gone.
Facts, Lucas. Keep on preaching.
Yes.
He's a great coach. I like him as a person, but it was just a stale ride.
What did I say, Nick? What did I say? Thank you. Thank you, Lucas.
You said that. You kind of echoed Austin.
Yeah, I think me and Austin had pretty similar views as we were talking about this morning. So.
All right. Well, Lucas, thanks so much for joining by phone for this exclusive. This is exclusive. First ever exclusive.
Is this the first phone interview of Steel City?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Exclusive while we're taping.
And it was almost the last if you kept up with that nonsense from the Steelers.
No, don't listen to the other co-hosts, because I have to represent new management well, and we certainly did that.
We all know who's really in charge over there, and it's new management. So.
Thank you. All right, Lucas. Thanks for the time today.
Of course, man. Have a good rest of your episode, guys.
You too. We'll see you Wednesday for Two Jagoffs, hopefully.
Appreciate it, Lucas. Good luck, man.
Peace.
Peace.
He redeemed himself with the Mike Sullivan and the Shedeur Sanders. So you see what I mean now with the whole Pittsburgh Steelers thing? Like, A- is just crazy to me. Like, I don't understand. Like, I read you through some of the names, and I actually want to apologize. I actually misread some of the names. I was looking at the wrong page. The Pittsburgh Steelers did not sign a single defensive lineman or defensive tackle at all post NFL draft. That was the Niners. I was reading the Niners' 3 defensive ends they signed. The Steelers, they signed Aiden Williams, offensive guard from Minnesota Duluth, Rock Taylor, wide receiver from Memphis, which I actually like a lot, actually. J.J. Galbraith, tight end from South Dakota. DJ Thomas Jones, fullback from South Alabama. Keshawn Williams, wide receiver from Indiana. Sebastian Castro, safety from Iowa. And the one that I'm really looking forward to, Ben Sauls, kicker out of Pitt.
I'm still shocked that Lucas took the time to call in.
Thank you, Lucas.
Thank you,
We appreciate
Lucas.
it.
We appreciate it.
You were wrong, but we appreciate it.
No.
Yes.
No.
You agree with me? What do you mean no?
I don't want to say I agree with you fully. I think... Here we go.
There goes the COVID again.
Here we go, coughing.
You made it over an hour. You're fine.
I made it over an hour. I was really worried. Lucas does have some compelling points. Honestly, if you look at the structure and if you look at some of these key players that they drafted, it's going to be a watch and learn process. But I think he's made some good points regarding Dante Kent, special teams, as I echoed. And when you look at the quarterback situation, and he wants to get into the tips of it and trying to compare him between Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if you want to go that route, but
that's too far.
He does make some good points on Caleb
Comparing
Johnson.
a 6th-round quarterback to a Patrick Mahomes.
Derek Harmon. I think Lucas has some compelling points. And I was glad that he was able to share those exclusively with Steel City, just because he may not be able to make 2 jagoffs.
Yeah.
So literally this episode went from, we were like so far apart, to actually agreeing on Steelers news. And then, of course, social media manager of Lucas of 2 Jagoffs and the host of Lucas Carries, plus the co-host of 2 Jagoffs, made a call in.
Yeah.
Very productive.
Very eventful.
Very eventful. And I also think it highlights some of the most important issues when we talk about Sullivan and some key players, because I think this episode is the center of it all. And we're going to get more of 2 Jagoffs. This is like a lead-in.
This is a lead-in. I always say this on 2 Jagoffs. Steel City is always great preparation for me for 2 Jagoffs. It's a way for me to open up my thoughts on camera. So when I go on 2 Jagoffs, I'm a little more polished with my takes. I get mad at myself sometimes, though, because sometimes I make the better takes on Steel City, and then I listen to my 2 Jagoffs takes. I'm like, oh, I should have said that like I did on Steel City, and that would have made it better. And then sometimes with 2 Jagoffs, I look back at Steel City, and I was like, oh, I should have said this on Steel City. But I try and replicate everything I say because I don't want to be fake on here and then be somebody else on the other podcast.
But you are.
I want to make sure knock it off. I want to make sure I echo what I say across all platforms, which is hard to do. It's really hard to do. You got to be careful with that. You got to really be careful with it, because there's so many times we see people like in the media, especially, like they'll say one thing on TV and then you're talking to them in person and they'll like, say something completely different. And I try not to do that. Like if we turn off the cameras right now and you're just like, Austin, what's your opinion on Jack Sawyer? I'm going to tell you the exact same thing. He gets too many penalties. Simple as that.
And it's very interesting that Lucas Coons, made the call in.
Give me a migraine.
You knock that stuff off. You knock it off over there. First time
I
ever.
threw my Pepsi bottle because of him.
Oh, don't you start your nonsense.
I was pretending the chair over there was him, so I just went.
Oh, do we want to tell everybody you tried sitting down and almost fell? I was actually sitting where Austin was sitting, and over there off camera, he goes to sit down and goes right into the wall.
Yeah. Let's make sure the WrestleMania shirt we're showing. Got to show the wrestling love, you know?
And you also have to show new management love and Lucas Coons love when he has his hot takes. That was Lucas Coons coming in with a hot take exclusively for Steel City.
I'm good on that.
I
do want to, you know what I mean. But I do want to transition in this to end off today's episode.
What, that we're officially done for the summer and we're never going to see each other again? No, I'm just kidding.
No, we're actually going to be bringing on another special guest next week.
What?
Yeah.
Breaking news.
Who?
Can I guess?
You can guess.
Does it start with a K and end with an H?
No. Yes, it does. We are talking, ladies and gentlemen, my best friend from back at home, Kevin
Homa.
That's it, Kevin Homa. Kevin has been a friend of mine ever since elementary school. I've known him longer than I've known anybody. He's been a guest on 2 Jagoffs before. He's been interviewed. He's been a part of our specials. He's actually an honorary Jagoff, just like yourself, Nick.
Yes.
Which you haven't been on yet, but you're going to be an honorary Jagoff once you officially make your debut.
We already put it on the Graham bio.
It's already on the Graham bio.
You need to add Steel City to your Instagram bio.
It runs out. I tried putting Steel City and Inside the Ring. It wouldn't let me, so I just did the radio show in 2 Jagoffs.
No, we can scrap the radio show, at least for the summer.
Okay, at least for the summer.
See, we got to make some ways and part. But Kevin will be joining us at the Media Hub.
He'll be here live. First ever on-camera appearance for Kevin. He's done like projects, but he's never been like on camera for a podcast. It's always been just audio. So this will be Kevin's first camera appearance. I will warn every single person that Kevin is a little crazy, which we love.
Just like you.
That's why we're friends. That's why me and him are friends.
And you were near my house this weekend, which is scary.
And I think Kevin's going to provide some good insight on the Pens. He's a big Penguins fan as well, too, so we can definitely ask his opinion on Mike Sullivan.
So this episode is going to target me now, essentially.
Well, not really. I just want to see what he has to say about it. So
I'm just making sure, because you and your little tricks and schemes.
Well, from what Facebook proves, it looks like you and Kevin already have a small alliance going on about torturing me. So I don't think that's really going to happen next week. It's going to be a repeat of the Lucas episode with I'm getting ganged up on, you on this side and him over there.
Oh, you're putting me over there with you?
Yeah, you can come back over here if you want. I mean, it's kind of empty space. We can grab another chair.
We can always put Kevin over here, and I'm much closer to Kevin.
Yeah, honestly, let's do that. You guys can stay over there. I like my own personal space. I'm an introvert. I'm an extroverted introvert. Let me keep my own space.
And then I'm going to have to turn to like Kevin, and I'm going to have to like put my back towards you. And
Good. That's even better. I don't got to see you.
Or we put Kevin next to you.
I'm good.
Just like Mr. Jack Dean. that
No,
eventually will be
Mr.
coming
Jack Dean can stay his ass back in South Fayette where he belongs.
You know, when Mr. Jack Dean and we get
That's going to be our next guest is Mr. Jack
Well,
Dean.
when we get everybody on the podcast,
Oh, Lord. We have 6 mics. Well, we have 4, but we can plug in 2 more. So.
we're putting Lucas over here.
Okay.
We're putting Mayor Cairns over with Lucas.
Okay.
We're putting Mr. Jack Dean next to you. And then we're putting Kevin.
Oh, you put the 2 worst ones over here. I don't want them 2. Give me I want my dad next to me.
No, your dad's over here.
Why? Why does he have to be over there?
Making sure that we don't have any interference.
And Lucas is my bodyguard, so I'm cool with him being next to me.
No, that's why we're switching things up.
Oh, Mr. Jack Dean's going to poke me the whole time, and Kevin's just going to make weird noises. That's what they're going to do.
Well, that's the seating arrangement that I kind of come up with that I thought that was fair for all. That was equal.
Fair for all. Fair for all except for me.
No.
Yeah.
I took your thoughts and considerations into it.
I bet you did.
I did. It took me a long time to figure out where everybody was going.
Bullshit.
No. No.
It's not like a mouse.
No.
No. It's not like the little mouse from Tom and Jerry. Not Jerry, the little one. I forget his name. Pipsqueak or whatever. Oh, I don't know.
But your dad can't be next to you. That's interference.
Whatever. I'm glad I'm going to camp this weekend. I get a mental reset from all this.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah. You'll still be bugging me?
I'll message Bella, make sure that she's bugging you.
Oh, thanks.
And Jumbo Dad won.
No, I will be on my bike riding around a lake.
You know he did the ice bucket challenge.
He did do the ice bucket challenge, which is something you have yet to do.
Well, he was also late after 24 hours, so I don't feel so bad.
Well, yeah, you still have to do it. Lucas still has to do it. Ollie still has to do it. Mr. Jack Dean still has to do it.
I have a good idea.
What is your idea?
Put me,
Okay.
Mr. Jack Dean.
Okay.
Kevin, I don't think was nominated yet either.
He was nominated. I nominated him.
Did he do it?
No.
Kevin and Lucas, we're going to all get together and we're all going to do the ice. You and your dad will have the honor to put ice water on all of us. If that makes you happy.
Okay. I get to dump it?
Yes, you and Mayor Cairns. We'll figure out some times. We'll figure out some dates that all of us will eventually get to do it, and we will nominate 3 people each. So we will nominate.
Who would you nominate?
Ooh, that's a hard one.
Well, we'll save that one, actually.
We'll save that.
We'll save that.
But we will
We're
nominate.
getting over our time limit now.
Oh, that's okay. I can ramble on forever.
I know, me
But
too.
we're all going to nominate.
All right.
And fortunately, you already did, and I can't nominate you. But I have some people in mind.
Yeah,
I have some friends in mind, especially from Point Park here that I've associated once or twice that I've sent a message, are you ready to get wet?
Oh, God.
And that
What a
signals some fears. What did you get nominated for? So
Yeah, that would signal some fears. Well, Nick, I think this is a great way to wrap up today's episode. We had a lot of stuff that we talked about today. We had a nice, solid debate when talking about the Penguins.
exclusive take from Lucas.
Exclusive takes from Lucas. Real-time draft coverage as well from the NFL draft this weekend. Great preparation for me for 2 Jagoffs. Great conversation for both of us here in Steel City. Is there any final words that you would like to leave the audience of Steel City commuters who is now listening on YouTube, Spotify, and Facebook, 3 different platforms?
We made it this far. 16 episodes in.
I know, almost a big 20.
4 more weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Next week will be 17.
Kevin will be the 17th
Kevin.
episode. Yes, he will be.
That's a lucky number, 17 in the household. So
Is it?
That rings some bells.
Well, Kevin.
Oh, good. Kevin's next to me. Hot dog for that.
Hot diggity dog.
Anyways, it's a pleasure to always be in person.
Yes, it is.
Because imagine we were remote. That would have sucked.
Yeah, we'd be arguing like crazy on Zoom.
I would never be able to hear you. And we're already over the Zoom time limit.
No, we're well over the Zoom time limit. This is going to be 2 Zoom episodes right here.
Yes, we would have to do a lot of editing.
Too much editing.
But anyways, thanks everybody.
Yes. Thank you all so much for tuning in to yet another episode of Steel City. Make sure you like, comment, and follow us on whatever platform you are listening to.
Facebook's the best.
Facebook is the best. YouTube's not bad either. It just depends.
YouTube's not bad. Spotify, I just listen for music.
Yeah.
But Facebook, we have all of our friends and we have more exclusive guests coming. Don't worry.
More exclusive guests will be coming, but make sure you stay tuned next week. Kevin Homa. It's going to be a great episode. Thank you again so much for tuning in. Until next time on Steel City Commuters.